This is Brenna Quigley, your personal geologist and terroir guide. Join me on a road trip through the geologic history of your favorite wine regions around the world. This is Roadside Terroir. Welcome to a bonus episode of Roadside Terroir. These bonus episodes are extended, mostly uncut conversations that we have pulled from the hundreds of hours of interviews done on-site and in the field during our travels. They're listener-supported and are examples of the exclusive content available to Roadside Insiders. Visit our website, roadsideterroir.com, to learn how to become an insider and gain access to photos, maps, and additional materials, and how to support the show. You're about to hear an extended conversation with David Croix of Domaine de Croix, featured in Episode 1 of Season 2, Burgundy's Côte d'Or. After a trip through his vineyards in Beaune, we've returned to his cellar to taste through the terroirs we've just observed. Towards the end of this clip, we also taste through one of David's parcels on the hill of Courton, which will give you a brief preview into our upcoming second episode, which will be released on April 22nd. David also goes on to explain an ongoing trial he's been working on, where he explores the difference in taste between vines that have been hedged or trimmed versus untrimmed. This is a recent farming technique that is growing in popularity in Burgundy and will be a focus of a future episode as well. David is constantly working on experiments like this and is one of our favorite people to learn from in Burgundy.
So do we taste like basically the four vineyards we've seen? Do you want to taste something else? What should we do?
Definitely the four that we've seen.
Yes.
And if you have
Courton.
the trial of the...
Head trimmed, no trimmed?
Yeah.
It's in 2021.
Oh, okay, then no. We'll do that next time.
So...
And so then, if not that, then Courton.
Yeah.
Would be great.
So 2020, they are just like not tracked on their lees. Vinified without sulfur, aged for a year without sulfur. We added sulfur for the first time 2 months ago. And so this is Beaune sans vigne. So vinified with 50% whole bunch. Because you know that sweet, round character of Sauvignon, I really like to balance it with a bit of stemminess.
Okay.
Sauvignon vinified, especially on a hot vintage and dry vintage like 2020, vinified with no stems, there's a sense of, it's a little too much in terms of, it's a very spheric wine, you know, in a sense. So the stemmy tannins, it really brings something different to the texture, to the aromatics as well. So I've evolved over time because in the past I didn't like really stems. Now I'm using more and more. And it really suits well to Sauvignon in general.
So in the concept of sort of balancing roundness with structure.
Yes.
And then also with the no hedging, you're looking for like length.
Yes.
So you're kind of taking, but it's interesting because one of the first conversations we had about Sauvignon was you kind of also want to play into the roundness a little bit, right? Like.
Well, and the roundness doesn't disappear really.
Right. You're not trying to fight it.
No, I'm not trying to make a Sauvignon that tastes like a Pertuiseau. I'm just trying, sometimes I find the roundness to be a bit overwhelming, it's a little too much. So the idea is really to, bring a sense of balance. So, It's also a very vineyard that's very difficult to pick in terms of picking dates because there's a lot of sweetness in the fruit. So the stems will also allow to balance that as well, the sweetness. You can, or you can dump. It's up to you. What should we taste next? Should we do Grève or should we do Bressandes? Should we do Bressandes, Pertuiseau, Grève? Yeah, we should do that. We're going to do Sans Vigne, Bressandes, go upslope. Try to find the Grèzelité character, if we can find it. So, Beaune Bressandes.
Okay, it's a big jump.
Yes.
Great.
Right up the slope. So you see that sense of there's a certain darkness in the fruit, but you will see when you get on the palate, you have that grippy finish, like stony finish. That for me is really a signature of Bressandes.
And very it smells more, like you said, like cool and kind of like foresty.
Yes. Yeah, there's also something like more herbal, like a bit fresher in a sense.
Did you find that, you said you kind of knew what to expect from Bressandes, but did you find that you had to find the Grèzelité in the winemaking? Like, did you
No,
have
because
to...
I didn't know what Grèzelité was at the time. So when I said I knew what to expect, it's more, I should have said, I had already tasted Beaune Bressandes.
Okay.
Not that I knew what Beaune Bressandes was about, but I had already tasted it, so I had an idea of what it could taste like.
So in sort of, as you've made the wine since, when did you start making?
2005.
So since 2005, you've been kind of like trying to figure out how to highlight Bressandes, right? Like, or...
Yeah, I've been looking, at first I was very disturbed with that finish, with that grainy tannin, like stony tannin for me. And it took, so I said, I said I'm going to pick later, because maybe the tannins are underripe. Then I realized it didn't change anything, except making the fruit a little darker. So I said it's just the terroir. That's how I learned that it was coming from where the plant is growing. That's really how I figured that out. Almost chalky character on the tannins. That's how I learned about it. I went for bigger maturity, then went back, and now I feel like we have the right balance. I mean, in the context of the 2020 vintage, which is a ripe vintage.
And you don't do any whole cluster?
No.
No. It'd be too much stems and bones and...
I feel like it would not really integrate well with the quality of the tannins we have here. But it's just my intuition. Maybe if I was using 100% stems, it would work great. Who knows? We have to make choices. Okay, now we went south to Pertuiseau. So Beaune Pertuiseau. So a very different aromatic profile.
Yeah.
It's fresher in a sense. It's more like red fruit. It's crunchier, I find. Even though this is the highest in terms of alcohol content. Wow. This is 14.8. but the pH is really low. And I was talking about these valleys and and there's a valley right behind Pertuiseau that's bringing more cool air, more fresh air. So it's a little cooler there. It's a later ripening site.
Which of the vineyards gets the most sunlight over the course of the day?
I would say Beaune Bressandes probably. I haven't measured precisely, but my feeling is that it's Beaune Bressandes.
The exposure and just how like.
Yeah, and you are really mid-slope. When you're in Bressandes at the top, at night with the forest on top, you're missing some part of the late sun. Which is not happening in Beaune Bressandes. And that's where I have the feeling of the most, when I taste the wines, of the most opulence, the most like sunny side for me is in Beaune Bressandes. What's interesting for me on the vintage, because it's really a vintage of light and a vintage of heat. Mm-hmm. So it's an intense vintage overall, but you still have a sense of terroir definition. Usually we feel like when we have a hot vintage, the sunny side of the fruit, the ripeness of the fruit kind of hides the terroir characters. I don't know if it's true or not, but for me in 2020 it's not true at all. You really have a great terroir definition despite a high level of ripeness, which obviously we are not used to in Burgundy. I mean, more and more, but in general, we're not used to that. Wines that are above 14% alcohol is... this is 14.8, it was 14.4, it was 13.8. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting to see that the terroir still shines through the ripeness of the fruit.
Yeah, it really seems like you can kind of so lame. You can like feel the bedrock in that. Like you actually can. Like there's this balance between like stone and fruit, and like there's minerality and like to it that wasn't in the others, even though there was still structure. Like
in the texture, in the finish.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it brings something a bit firmer in the taste.
Yeah.
There's a firmness in the finish that you don't get in Bressandes or in Saint-Vigne. So this is Beaune Bressandes. And there was 25% whole bunch here on Beaune Pertuiseau.
Okay.
Now there's 50 again on Beaune Bressandes.
Are yields roughly the same across the vineyards?
Roughly. The average is 28. We speak in hectoliters per hectare. We're allowed to make 48. We produced 27, 28 in 2020. Then some areas who suffered more from the drought have lower yields. But overall, it's all in the 25, 30 hectoliters per hectare range. Maybe this one is the lowest, the one you're having now. It's 20, 25. It's, potentially there is no Grand Cru in Beaune. Potentially, for me, the most complete wine, the most gracious balance for me is Beaune Grève, and potentially it's our little baby Grand Cru. I would say, we don't have any Grand Cru, and I don't think we should pretend on getting any Grand Cru in Beaune. But this is potentially the best terroir.
I think it has the most. Yeah, I think like you said, completeness. Like it has like the most length. Like it has the most like carry through.
I agree.
Like the like.
It's here. It's okay. Don't worry. It happens. Now this is Corton. Corton, la vigne au sein. So southwest facing, bottom part of the slope, 60 to 80 centimeters of brown clayish soil, and then Corton limestone, hard limestone.
And when did you start working with Corton?
09.
And how did that happen?
Well, we got lucky enough to be part of a deal. There was a whole domain for sale. One big negociant in Beaune was ready to buy the whole thing, and we just partnered with 15 or 17 different domains, and everybody got a bit. So we were lucky enough to get the Corton. Rousseau got some Chambertin. We got some Corton. Méo-Camusé got some Corton. Girardin got some Charlemagne. It was a domain based in Santenay. So we split it, the domain, basically.
And what's the name of this boutique?
La vigne au sein. The saint's vine.
And what's the whole cluster?
40%. But for me, it's a terroir, Corton, that absorbs the whole cluster very much more than Beaune. So at 40% in Beaune, you would smell it a lot more than here. Here, for me, if I was asked blind, I would say there's 0. But still, there is 40. And for me, it's a red wine that almost has the balance of a white wine in terms of the saltiness, the freshness on the palate. It has it has characteristics of a white in a sense.
Yeah, it even sort of like looks. It's kind of hard to see, but it looks kind of darker. But then the like shape and the freshness of it is not darker in any way.
No. For a hot rye vintage, it's a vintage where you don't get tired of tasting the wines because there still has that bright freshness every time. I remember tasting 09s, and after 10, 15 wines, my palate was feeling tired. There was a sense of heat, a sense of ripeness that was kind of imposing. That was really sometimes a bit heavy. With 2020, for me, there's a sense of energy and intensity at the same time. That's almost refreshing. And so you have that great combination, that contrast of like, you can feel the sun in the glass. You can feel the color is dark. You can feel the fruit is dark. There's a sense of sun because it was a sunny year and a hot year. But you have that contrast with lots of energy at the same time. So, which for me makes the vintage quite unique. Oops, sorry.
And I know you have to go, so
it's okay.
we'll go. But could you speak for just a minute about why you're doing the trim trials? Yeah. And what? Yeah, just like the thought process.
Well, the first influence, the first source. When you taste La Loubie's Leroy's wines, you can't remain indifferent. You can't. It's like these wines move you. They make something happen. You say. They taste like any other wine, not like any other wine. They are like unique, and you see at the farming that she's doing, and her ideas. Even though she's very secretive, and you can't really know what she's doing, but you can see what she's doing. And so we started thinking about that, and we talked among other growers like Olivier Lamy, like friends that we share ideas with, and said, let's try. So we started in 2015 in Bressandes, and we did half trimmed, half untrimmed.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you
for your time. I know it's a busy time of year.
Yeah, actually today is probably the busiest
Busiest day of the year.
Today is intense.
Thank you for listening to this bonus episode from our second season of Roadside Terroir. Roadside Terroir is hosted and produced by me, Brenna Quigley, recording and sound engineering by Nick Canepa, and original music and sound design by Jeff Alvarez. This season wouldn't be possible without the support from all of you. Thank you for listening, sharing, emailing, and supporting us however you can. Check out our website, roadsideterroir.com, to learn how you can stay in touch and how to help support this season by becoming a Roadside Insider or a Season 2 patron. Thank you to David Croix of Domaine de Croix and to our partners for this season of Roadside Terroir, Becky Wasserman Co, Acker Wines, and La Paulée. Thank you to Jerusha Frost and Isa Islami and everyone else who has helped to make this season a reality.